Guys, good morning and welcome to the vlog. Over 2,000 times I've said that or something to the similar.
Influencer Brian Barczyk has died. This was his final message to his 5 million YouTube followers. The video was posted 9 days before his passing.
Each one of you have changed my life.
Brian, who was from Michigan, was a reptile lover and expert. Brian's family shared that his passion for reptiles and wildlife, along with his steadfast dedication to education, has touched innumerable hearts and minds globally. Brian started his YouTube channel in 2016.
So I thought to myself, why not let you guys come into my world all the time?
He went on to produce a documentary in South Africa and created a convention for animal content creators, as well as expand the Reptarium, a reptile zoo in Utica, Michigan.
I really don't know where to begin with this, everybody. And when you look up to someone, you know, that you've literally have mentored for years, from the moment you started watching them when you were like a young kid, you know, you kind of, you know, they inspire you to become, you know, somebody that, you know, you always thought of like who you wanted to be when you grew up. Brian was that person that inspired me to become who I am today. He had a major impact on the reptile community, and if it weren't for him, I don't think a lot of us would be doing these big reptile shows across the country, or doing content creating, you know, and doing these educational videos on all these amazing reptiles and animals around the world. There's just really there's not that many people I can think of that did something as good as Brian, but I think obviously Steve Irwin was one of the other ones that I looked up to, and he had a major impact on the world of wildlife conservation. Brian did that too. And there's a few other guys out there that are on the rise that I have been noticing too, and I think those guys that are rising up there, I think they're doing a fabulous job as well. And I kind of want to be a part of that. Even if I don't have many people that watch this, you know, I kind of want to be still connected with the community. And of course, it was unfortunate that what happened with Brian was just not fair. It wasn't. And I'm gonna lie, it kind of brings back very hard memories when my big brother passed away from cancer as well. But when I actually when I first got the news about Brian being diagnosed about a year ago, it hadn't even been a full year since my brother had died. Not even a full year. And when Brian informed all of us on his channel that he was diagnosed with cancer, I at first was thinking that this can't be happening. I mean, I just lost my brother a few months ago to this disease, and now an idol that I look up to is now, it's like deja vu. And when I look up at this letter that Brian sent me several years ago, it just, every day I look at it, you know, and now it means a lot more to me than it did a year or two ago, because Brian loved sharing his life with animals and people in so many different ways. And Brian doesn't want us, everybody, to be down or sad about what just happened, everybody, because he always wanted to make things positive, and as much as he could in every vlog. Even throughout his whole battle, he wasn't, you know, trying to be down throughout the whole videos. He always tried to keep that motivation, to keep all that energy and positivity as much as possible, because he wanted everybody to stay positive and don't think about what he's going through at all, because that's who he was. He always tried to look everything in a good way, and that's who he was. And that's what I'm trying to do here too, everybody. It's when I look at that letter that he sent me, I gotta keep that as a motivation, and I keep that as a way to keep me motivated to animals, to love animals and reptiles for as long as I can. And I know, of course, some of you guys know that I'm going to the Tinley Park show here in like another month or two, and a lot of us that looked up to Brian had gone to the Tinley Park show over the years, that have seen him there. It is gonna be different now that he won't be there to introduce himself to as many people that will attend the show. But his legacy will always be remembered, and it will continue on. his son Noah, his wife Lori, and the rest of his crew there at the Reptarium, they are not gonna stop for what Brian was they're not gonna stop from what Brian was building across the street for the aquarium. They're gonna keep doing it and are gonna try and make it the way Brian wanted it to be in his vision. And that's amazing right there. And that's kind of how Steve's family was. They were gonna keep going with his they kept going with his legacy at the Australia Zoo, you know, doing some educational shows and showing the people how amazing the wildlife around us is. And there was this message that Steve Irwin put out many years ago. We don't own the planet Earth. We belong to it. And we must share it with our wildlife. That was a powerful quote that Steve put out there on national television. And that's why I think I could see Brian repeating that same thing too. I can understand that even off camera for his family and the crew, it's probably very hard to do those vlogs because he's not there, but I do believe that's what Brian would love them to do. Keep doing these making content, you know, and doing educational videos out there to everybody that comes to visit his place, you know, and never stop doing it, you know. I know this isn't really something positive, everyone, but I want to try and make it positive, though. How much of an impact Brian had on me in a very good way. And I want to hear your guys' positive impacts from Brian on you guys. Like, how did he get you motivated into the world of reptiles? Or like, when did it begin, you know, and like, did you ever get to meet him? Let me know tell me what your experience is in the comments down below. But yeah, like I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Brian, you put an impact on my life. I didn't think there was anybody else out there that could, you know, be as good as Steve Irwin, but when I came across you, I could see it in your eyes that you were just as good as Steve was. And I'm grateful that I got to follow you on your journey too. And I'm going to continue following your family's journey and your crew for putting the hard effort out there for how much you've done. And we are very grateful for that you've been a part of our lives. I want to say thank you for that. You had a major impact on all of us in a very good way. For so many of us that have followed Brian on his journey for all these years, it still feels like he actually really isn't gone. But the reality is that he unfortunately is. But while he may not be physically here, but his spirit and his legacy is going to keep going no matter what. And of course, I guess they are going to open the Legacy Aquarium, I believe they said in March, if I checked the calendar correctly. Let me know if that's true or not. But of course though, me and my dad have decided we're going to take a road trip. Ow! Boo! Why? That hurt. So back to what I was saying, me and my dad, we are officially going back to the Tinley Park show to kind of like, not as just as a father and son road trip, but kind of also to pay our respects to Brian, because he really inspired a lot of people to actually go to these awesome reptile shows, especially in Tinley Park, because it was just something really fun to do, you know, bring kids that can see all these amazing animals and also get to meet him in person, you know, and actually have a good time with him. That's what Brian was all about. And I mean, like I said too, it's when people go to these reptile shows or even visit the Reptarium, it's going to be different, 110%. But his wife Lori and the crew, they're going to work their butts off. This is actually this is kind of difficult to explain. I think I'm going to go ahead and just conclude this video, everybody, because it's starting to get really depressing here. But thank you, Brian, for everything that you've done, especially to his wife Lori and the rest of his crew. You guys have done a phenomenal job of keeping up the hard effort with him, and you guys, I know, are going to keep going no matter what happens. And Brian's going to be very proud of you guys. I'm going to go ahead and actually conclude it, everyone, so I'll catch you guys next time.